Hi, I'm Mr. eTutor, your mystery tutor here at mysterytutor.com, and welcome to video module 8-3. In this module, I'd like to give you some fun training tools for the SAT that are actually not boring and will actually help improve your score. In those two respects, they differ from almost every other SAT training material out there. For starters, I'd like to discuss two ways to develop your ability to answer sentence completion questions. Notice I did not say two ways to build your vocabulary, but rather two types of exercises you can begin to do to start thinking about words in ways that will benefit you on the SAT. The first is a website called freewrites.com. Using this website will encourage you to use your gut instincts to figure out what words must mean in a multiple choice setting. It's a lot of fun, there's no pressure, and there's a high degree of carryover to the SAT sentence completion questions. Not so much in the vocabulary you'll learn, but in the way that you'll learn to approach questions where you're not entirely sure what every word means. Secondly, I recommend a good crossword site like the LA Times crossword. Learning to do crossword puzzles is very similar to learning to solve SAT questions. In a lot of SAT questions, you'll have a rough idea of where you need to go and a rough idea of several of the pieces that you'll need to get there, but you won't necessarily know exactly how to use everything you're given. For example, you might have a sentence completion question where you're not entirely sure what every word means, or a math question where you know you have the basic pieces assembled, but you're not exactly sure how to combine them to get the right answer. In either of those situations, the skills you use doing crossword puzzles will come in very handy. A crossword puzzle is all about starting from nothing, beginning in uncertainty, and ending, ultimately, being completely certain of everything you've got in front of you. And that's exactly what many SAT questions are like. There are also several things you can try to do with SAT questions themselves. For example, you might sit down one day and open up your copy of the official SAT study guide to a random page. Look at that question and cover up the answer choices. See if you can read the question and use your knowledge of the SAT's standards to determine what the answer choices might be. I want to be very clear on something before we go any further. I am not suggesting that you pre-form answer choices to actual questions when you actually take the test. I'm only suggesting that you test your ability to predict what the SAT is going to do. Because, as you reach a level of SAT mastery, your ability to predict the SAT's actions will tell you that you've come a long way. Another interesting challenge is to do the converse of that. Open the book up at random to a question and cover up the question itself, leaving only the answer choices. See what relationships you can observe among the answer choices, and figure out if any of the answer choices seem like they might be the correct answer. Again, the goal here is not actually to do this when you take the test for real. The goal is just to see how well you understand the SAT structure. Because, as we've said over and over again, learning how to think like the SAT is the key to beating the SAT. So there you have it. A few easy exercises you can do that are not time-consuming, not mind-numbingly boring, and that will, believe it or not, actually help your score. Thanks very much for watching, and remember, if you practice intelligently, it's easier than you think.